This demo is intended to mirror the Keynote demo, but using Google Slides for your interactive project. We're going to begin by going into Google Slides and creating a blank presentation. The layout is very similar to that of Keynote, giving slide options on the left-hand side. Themes and additional information such as formatting will appear on the left-hand side. Your slide that you're working on in the center, as well as other options like fonts, inserting media, formatting your slides, arranging, and additional tools that are available to you. By default, you start with one slide, and I'm going to ask that you then add 7 more slides to the presentation. You do this up in the upper left-hand corner with the new slide or Control-M. So now we have a total of 8 slides, and we can toggle through them quite easily by clicking on them and seeing the slide change in the center. We're going to be doing custom slides, so we're not going to be in this demo adding titles or text. So you may delete those for each of these slides. Now what's nice about the program is even though we're working in a web browser, it still works very much like an application. We can drag and drop items, we can edit, we can do pretty much everything that you already saw in the Keynote presentation in Google Slides. So I'm going to start by dragging the images that are on the Google Drive, called iPad and then Safari, GarageBand, and Calendar, into the first 5 slides. So I'm in slide 1 and I'm going to grab the iPad, place it, and you'll see these red marks come up to indicate that you're centered on the slide. I'm going to go to slide 2 and grab 2 iPad. Three Safari, and again I'm just centering them on the slide for this demonstration. 4 GarageBand, and 5 Calendar. So the way this becomes interactive is again by linking objects from one slide to the other, basically creating buttons. In this one, I'm going to click on the graphic, and then I'm going to right click, and you'll see I get additional options that I can do with this. I can animate, maybe I want this to fade in. Now you have to define how things animate. Are they on a click, meaning that you click the slide and that event happens, or with previous or after previous? Since this is our first slide, I'm going to choose after previous. I'm going to show you what happens when I press the present button to actually give a demo or show us what our interactivity is doing. So when I click on the present button, you'll see it loads and then this first screen fades on. Now I want this first screen to act as a button that is going to go to the home screen of our iPad. Up here in the toolbar, you'll see something that says Insert Link. I'm going to click on that, and that's going to ask me what I want this button to do. And in this case, I'm going to want it to link to slide number 2. So I'm going to click on Slides in this presentation. I'm going to scroll down and tell it Slide 2, and I'm going to click the Apply button. Always click the Apply button, otherwise this will not create the link. If I go up to the upper right hand corner again, I press the Present button to see how it works. We fade on, and now you'll see that when I roll over this, my cursor becomes a finger. I click on it, and it takes me to my next slide. In slide number 2, we want to set up buttons that are going to take us from Safari, GarageBand, and the calendar to our simulated Safari, GarageBand, and Calendar screens. We do this by creating objects that we're going to lay over and make invisible over these buttons. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a shape, go to shapes, I'm going to just use a square. I'm going to draw a square over the Safari button. Now by default, it gives it a color and it gives it a fill. I can go up into my toolbar to fill color and say transparent, to my border color and say transparent, and now it does not show up any longer, but if I click there, it exists. Again, I'm going to create a link to the slide number 3 that is acting as our Safari page. This time I did a right click, brought up my contextual menu, and I'm going to go to link. I'm going to tell it slides in this presentation. I'm going to scroll down and tell it to go to slide 3 and click apply. I'm going to make another button for my other applications, GarageBand, transparent fill, transparent border, create my link, and tell it to go to slide 4, and apply. I'm going to create one more, place it over the calendar, I'm going out of order now, but I'm going to tell it to go to slide 5. So now you'll see I've got a button for slide 3, a button for slide 4, a button for slide 5. We'll go up to the present button again so we can test everything out. And I can go to Safari. Now one thing I cannot do is get back. So because of that, we're going to create a back button. I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to create a shape. Again, for this demonstration, I'm just going to do a rectangle. But this time I'm going to double click within it so that I can type inside. And I'm going to just write back. And I'm going to do my alignment to centered. I'm going to create a link that tells it to go back to slide number 2. So it would basically take me back to my home screen. Again, I'm going to click on Safari. I now get my Safari screen, and I'm going to go back to my home screen. What's nice is that I can copy this element and I can add it to my other pages without having to recreate it. And it's even going to paste it back into the same spot, which is nice from a user interface standpoint. And again, I'm going to do it on slide number 5. Now for the next set of keys, I'm going to want to use videos. Now here you'll see I've got videos on my hard drive because I'm working from my hard drive. But in order to use video within Keynote, you're going to want to have videos saved to your Google Drive because that's where it's going to look for them, either Google Drive or on YouTube. So if you've posted them onto YouTube, you can also put the URL there to link to videos. I'm not saying you necessarily have to have videos in your particular interactive project, but if you want to use video, you can, and Google Slides is somewhat strict about how video is brought into a Google Slide. Speaking of projects, I'm going to make sure that I give my presentation a name at this point, and it's going to be saving it in my drive. And I'm just going to call it Brownstein Interactive. So now, as I mentioned, slide 6, I want to introduce video. I'm going to go to insert it by going to Insert Video. So again, you can search, type in a URL for your YouTube video, or go to Google Drive. For Google Drive, I've uploaded, for the purposes of this demo, these different movie clips. So I'm going to choose Movie Forward MP4, double click, and it's going to place it again in my slide number 6. I'm going to line it up so that it's centered again. I'm going to create 2 buttons that give me a choice of going right or left. Now you can grab and hold and copy, similar that you would do to other graphics programs. And this one I'm going to call Go Right. I'm going to link them to slides 7 and slides 8. So Go Left is going to take me to slide 7. Go Right is going to take me to slide 8. Now I'm also going to have these animate on, as I did with the first home screen. I'm going to click on the button itself and click Add Animation. I'm going to have it fade in after the previous. Same with Go Right. I'm going to add the animation, fade in after previous. So back to slide 7, I'm going to insert a video, and that's going to be Move Left. And then for slide 8, Move Right. So now that we've got the 3 videos in, let's go back to slide 6 and just do a quick test. So you'll see the video is there, and if we click on it, it plays. However, what we want to happen really is that when we go to this slide, our video automatically plays. So I'm going to escape. I'm going to go back to it. For our video, I'm going to go to Format Options and go to Video Playback. And here I'm going to click Autoplay when presenting. That way when we come to this slide in our presentation, the video will automatically play. Similar, I'm going to go to slide 7, right click, Format Options, Autoplay when presenting, and then slide 8, Autoplay when presenting. Let's just do a quick test for slide 6. Click on Present, and it automatically plays. Now in Keynote, you have the option to actually time when your 2 buttons, Go Right and Go Left, come on, and you're instructed on how to figure out the length of the video and then set the delay. Unfortunately, in Google Slides, you don't have the ability to do that. They're just going to fade on in time with the other elements that come on. But if I was to click right as I just did, it goes and auto plays our first slide. So now that we have the video in place, I'm going to go back to slide 2 and I'm going to create one last button and put it over videos. Again, I'm going to set it to transparent for the fill and the border. And I'm going to set the link to slide 6 and hit apply. So now what we have is kind of a simulation of working with an iPad. Depending on what you're doing and how your video is going to work and the logic you've figured out, you may want things such as back buttons on slides that play a single video and require you to go back to a screen, or perhaps you want secondary logic branching to two additional videos. It really comes down to setting up a good flow chart to figure out where you want everything to go as the user progresses through your interactive. Now, just for good measure, I'm going to throw in one last slide and bring in Barney. And just wanted to show a few more of the animation options that are available. You can have your objects come in by fades, by fly-ins, by zooms, by spins. It's just pretty basic animation features that you can add to engage your user and to make this a little bit more interactive than just having everything be a single click and decide, click and decide. It's nice to bring in a little bit of animation, a little bit of movement, your illustrations, your photos, all depending upon the interactive program that you've decided to create. And again, for good measure, we'll copy and paste Barney, a back button for Barney. So I hope this gives you another option other than Keynote for those of you who aren't on a Mac to work in kind of a point and drag and click environment in order to create what can still be a very robust interactive platform. And thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing the results of your work.